Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about Lena Waithe and the series on Amazon Prime called Them. Now, disclaimer, I did not see this series. I refused to watch it, but I did see the trailers. I did see the bits and snippets. I did see people posting some videos of it, especially the most dramatic and traumatic scenes on TikTok, and also people giving their criticisms and comments on this film or series. Now, Lena Waithe has received a lot of backlash, so much so to the point that she deleted her Twitter. And I do agree that the backlash towards her is necessary. However, I do want you guys to keep in mind that she did not create this series. She just is the executive producer. And if you really want to take your anger out on somebody, you should take it out on this guy called Little Marvin, who did create the series. Now, I always feel like it's always easy to blame the face behind something because we know who Lena Waithe is for the most part versus a Little Marvin. So I feel like everybody just comes after Lena Waithe because, she has been doing some stuff that has made people, question her and has made people give her some criticism. So I do think that she is not completely exempt from accountability, but in this particular case, you also have to share the blame and the backlash towards Little Marvin. Now, when I first saw these bits and snippets and these people's reviews on YouTube, it really gave me more reason not to watch this show. And to be honest, I really think that movies and shows like Antebellum and Them are really trying to be Get Out 2.0 and trying to rip these films off. I think these movies are trying to take from Jordan Peele and gain critical acclaim and, Oscars / Academy Awards, even if the people behind them say that's not the truth or that's not what they want, and they're not really doing it well. And I feel like because Jordan Peele really kind of revolutionized or revitalized horror and black horror, and because he won an Oscar off of that, I really have started seeing a copy and paste thing happening with films that have especially racism or race as the subject matter or the focal point in this. And it honestly just really makes me question what is the end goal here. Now, although Them is a fictional yet quote unquote realistic view of racism of that time period, there was a lot of trauma with no clear arc. It really just feels like this was made for profit and shock value. I see questions being raised by Black people asking, who is this series for? And some of the responses to this were, it's for white or non-Black people or non-Black audiences as a form of education because this is what our ancestors went through and this is what's really happening. And some of these things are happening today. What disappointed me more were the amount of Black people defending it, mainly Gen X and older millennial Black people, no shocker there. I made a video talking about Black people and how they hate Black pain and trauma and struggle movies, but they still watch, and excuses / reasons like this are always because it's our quote unquote reality, and these things were what we are and our ancestors have went through or we are still going through. I do agree with the reality of racism being a horrible thing, but we experience it first or second hand through the news, social media, microaggressions. We don't need to constantly and consistently see it playing back to us. So this is coming from someone who would watch films like 42 and When They See Us and Hidden Figures and Selma, and I even watched 12 Years a Slave. And I've seen the traumatic and brutal treatment of our ancestors and what we went through. But I also do feel like after a consistent amount of years, almost 10 years of just consistently seeing that, being pushed out to us, I'm just saying I think we need a break from all that, or we need more variety in these films. This is why I do like that Marsai Martin says that she has a rule for her production company, and it's that she doesn't do Black pain. I think that it's good because we need more balanced promotion in telling Black stories, making movies and shows with all Black casts that don't center around pain and trauma, whether it's racism or not, that are more lighthearted in nature. Also, Lena Waithe has been criticized of colorism in her film casting because of the way she described what Queen in Queen and Slim should look like. Another reason is because the entire black cast of them are dark-skinned, further warranting criticism on how they can't find dark-skinned actors or actresses in particular to play leads or love interests or damsels in distress for regular, mellow, or lighthearted roles. But when the black pain, trauma, and struggle, social justice warrioring movies and film roles come out, they can find dark-skinned actresses. This is one of the reasons why when I saw Sella and the Spades and when I saw people who reviewed Sella and the Spades, there were especially black girls and dark-skinned black girls who were saying, yes, finally a dark or brown-skinned black girl as a lead in a teen drama, and we haven't gotten that, or we haven't gotten that in a long time, because we're always typecasted in these roles, even when black people are behind the scenes, casting and directing and doing stuff. Going back to one of my points where I said, hey, even when we have the creative control, we too drop the ball. Now, as stated before, I do think for educational purposes that these stories should be told, but with the constant and consistent creation of these movies and shows, especially in times like this where the subject matter is trendy, it really raises the question whether black creators like Little Marvin or executive producers like Lena Waithe, who greenlight these projects, and their team of white writers or black writers even, are they doing this for education or exploitation? Now, I also have to call out black people as well, because as many black people who dislike this and saw it as nothing but black pain and trauma, PORN, for trauma's sake, you had a number of black people cheering this on. I saw a tweet from a black person saying, hey, I know you guys want black superheroes and black witches and vampires, but the reality is, this is not our reality, and, this is what our ancestors went through. The excuses or the reasons behind why films like these are so quote-unquote important and so quote-unquote real, because they're relatable. Which really has me asking, do black people even want to see the black joy and the nuance and variety on screen that we claim we want? Are black people so used to the pain and the reality of struggle and trauma that when we do get the polar opposite, the lighthearted, the feel-good stuff, we aren't receptive to it and we call it boring? A perfect example, as I mentioned in a previous video, black people gave more attention to Queen and Slim, but when The Photograph came out, a black love movie released during Black History Month on Valentine's Day, black people called it boring. I saw more videos reviewing Queen and Slim from black people, and whether good or bad, then I saw black people reviewing The Photograph and Sella and the Spades, which is also on Amazon Prime. And from what I heard, I saw the movie Sella and the Spades, and it's going to be a show. Kind of like how Dear White People started off as a movie and it's going to be a show. And I find it funny when black people say, we can't find any of these, movies where this, that, and the third, and the lighthearted feel-good stuff, and, all that thing. And I'm just like, no, it's there. And you're upset at Netflix and Amazon Prime for pushing those black pain and trauma movies. And yes, the criticism is somewhat valid, but the other movies are there. You're just not looking for them. Or you're just not pushing them and promoting them and reviewing them. Or you're calling it boring. Okay, again, you gave more attention to Queen and Slim, whether you liked it or hated it, but The Photograph is boring. We say we want non-black pain and trauma films, mainly, the younger generation of black people, people of my age group, younger millennials and Gen Zers. But when we get them, they're either not pushed, not promoted, not supported, especially by white platforms and white audiences, and black ones. I also should mention that white audiences should be more receptive to black movies and shows, as well as things like them, because yes, like I said, not to say that shows and movies like them should not be created at all, but I really feel like they should be created in less capacity than the lighthearted feel-good stuff. And I think, again, after a consistent amount of years with just one thing, you want some balance. And I think white audiences or non-black audiences, as well as black ones, should definitely focus on, more movies and shows where the focal point is not racism, even if it is involved in the storyline to a certain degree. A show that does this really well for me is This Is Us. Now, granted, it doesn't have a full black cast or an all black cast, but the cast members that are black on the show, I love how they have their own storylines, and I love how they did talk about, and they do talk about things like race and racism, especially with what's going on right now, but they're not so overt and harsh and dramatic with it. They're very nuanced in the storytelling, and I love how even the minor characters get their own story or their own episodes for a story. Like the writing on This Is Us, it's so good. It's the pacing is nice, sometimes a little slow, but it's really good. There's always some nuance involved. They go into the past. They're now even in this particular season, season 5, they're actually showcasing, future storylines, which is so good. Like you really need to get into This Is Us, especially black people. You really need to get into This Is Us. And I'm just going to lie. I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to say this right now. I did start watching Game of Thrones last year. I'm not going to lie. I used to think it was just a bunch of overhyped, overrated mess. It was heavily talked about. But I did watch it finally in 2020, and it was good. But I will still hold and stick to my guns and say that I believe that This Is Us should have taken Best Drama Series at the Emmys. I'm not going to lie. This Is Us is a really good show. Queen Sugar is another close second for me because it does kind of touch on nuance. Yes, there are topics about race, social justice, racism, all that, police brutality. They do touch on that, but there's also other nuances in it too. The acting is great, the cinematography is great. And I actually think, this is one of the reasons I love Ava DuVernay. And even she said, I think in a particular interview where she was promoting her show Cherish the Day, I have not seen it yet, but I heard it's basically like a little black love story, and it's kind of, she said something like, sometimes you do need to get away from, the social justice and, the social stuff and the political stuff and, just focus on some lighthearted good stuff. And I think that's good. And, with that, it has a dark-skinned black woman with, type 4 hair, afro out. Maybe she's kind of into the whole Afrocentric thing. Again, I haven't seen it yet, but so far, so good. And based on what people are saying, they like it. So black people, why aren't we giving that a chance? I really ask, do we want the black joy and black variety and nuance in black, film, especially in horror, that we say we want? But when movies and shows like Sella and the Spades and, the Photograph and has nothing to do with race, racism, or politics, just lighthearted, feel-good stuff, we call it boring. And again, some of these films, they do have the tendency, they can just as much be prone to criticism or, not feeling full enough or not feeling, to be boring as other films do, okay? Every film has their ups and downs. Every movie show have their ups and downs. But still, I think we should probably give boring a chance than give black pain and trauma, all the attention in the world, whether you like it or hate it. So yes, that's my video. Please tell me what you think about it down in the comment section. Did you see them? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you want to see more black nuance and variety in film and movies? What kind do you want? I've been seeing black people, especially black Gen Z, say, hey, I want to see black people in fantasy and black witches and vampires and things like that. And I also have to say this. A side note, to the black people who are complaining about the black pain and trauma movies, some of you I think need to just, excuse me from now, but some of you I think need to just shut the F up, learn how to write, learn how to produce, learn how to direct, and create your own shit. Excuse my French. Create the things you say you want to see, because again, sometimes all this complaining is not going to do anything. And also, when the good lighthearted stuff do come out, give them the attention. Promote it. And I say this also to white audiences and critics and, moviegoers. Promote that good, lighthearted stuff too. So yes, that's my video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next one.